ready to count it out with Mike and Tyler.
My guest today can be seen on July 24th and 25th when TNA Wrestling rolls into the University of Rhode Island at the Ryan Center. He is former TNA heavyweight champion and current TNA international champion. Of course, I'm talking about Bulletproof Steve Maclin. Steve, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
No, thank you for having me on. I'll always love doing this.
Well, I mean, you are the right man for the job. You've been all over Rhode Island lately. You saw yesterday at the soccer club. We're coming off the biggest event in TNA company history. We're going to be live July 24th on Access TV in the United States and right here in Canada on Sportsnet. What's the energy like backstage coming off of Slammiversary as we roll into these two big shows?
Obviously, we're on a high from our biggest gate in North America and the company's history of 7,623. And go figure, I've been putting that number in my head. And it's just, I think a lot of people in the office as well have been putting that number in their head because now it's something to beat. TNA since the rebrand and since my time of being here for 4 years now, it's just been this uphill climb. This bubble finally bursted when the TNA rebrand went from Impact to TNA Wrestling, and it just got the world talking about TNA Wrestling again. And now setting a record attendance, now we have a goal to meet and a goal to beat, and that's just to keep getting better and better each and every time we go out there and all these shows around the country. With Rhode Island this week going live on Access, and then we have Baltimore coming up for Emergence, and then we have Minneapolis, Edmonton, and then BFG just being announced for October 12th in Lowell, Mass. It's just a good time for TNA wrestling.
100%. And you mentioned that we will be live this Thursday. We're seeing TNA do more and more impacts live lately. Is this something that you'd like to continue to see moving forward with the company?
It is, yeah. It's just obviously live TV is the goal of any wrestling company. You want to be on live television, network television, to for more eyes on the product means more money coming into the product and talents taken care of, new talent coming in, old talent. Like it just makes business work. And for the locker room that we do have, it's just busting their butt and putting all pieces together, and everybody just kind of come together knowing that we have to go out there and still try to be that underdog. And whether we do get a TV deal soon or not, we're always going to have that mentality, I think. And I think that's what's kept TNA wrestling around for 23 years.
Absolutely, it has been. And the proof's in the pudding. We just saw the largest gate or the largest crowd in TNA history at Slammiversary on the weekend. We got to see you compete in a six-man tag on the pre-show. What was it like for you personally to walk out and just see all those people out in the crowd representing TNA?
It was a great feeling. It was funny. Ingrid, who's ringside, she's like, "You looking?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is pretty freaking cool." It's just cool to see, just because it's a full circle for me, at least for when I started in TNA wrestling during the COVID era when fans weren't even allowed, and debuting with no fans, and then little bits of fans being let in after the post-COVID era, and then just fast forwarding to now to 7,000 plus is just it's such a just different vibe and different feel, and that energy comes up in us as talent, but also we vibe off of it from the fans, especially our TNA wrestling fan base, which to me is a different fan base just because they're so loyal. And just like we are in the locker room as the underdogs, I feel like our fans are the underdogs as well, and they always bring that energy.
Absolutely. Now, unfortunately, your team was not on the victorious side this evening. Do we still have some unfinished business with you and Enzo and the fourth root group, Steve?
That's to my knowledge. I don't know. I know my unfinished business is taking care of business, and that's defending my international title, which is what I set out to do. Obviously, plans changed going into Slammiversary, and some things had to happen. But yeah, for me, it's defending my international title against international talent from around the world. Even in our locker room, we have people from all over the world, across the globe. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
I felt there was like a bit of a push online. I think some people were a little disappointed that we didn't get to see you defend that title at Slammiversary. Did you feel that kind of love and momentum from the fans as the show drew near?
I did, yes. It didn't go unnoticed. I get it. But as a champion and as a person who is a leader in the locker room and leader for TNA, at least I like to carry myself that way. Sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. You keep your head up and you keep moving forward and you do the best that you can, and you just go with the punches.
Absolutely. And, I think it's safe to say that it was a phenomenal show at Slammiversary. And I use that word phenomenal because we did see the return of
Yes.
AJ Styles. What was that like for you to watch AJ Styles come home to TNA wrestling?
It was really cool just because I got to chat with him a little bit backstage. My wife was there as well, so they've known each other for years, and to just catch up with him a little bit and had just to see just the smile on his face and like just to be able to tell him too. I'm like, hey man, like you have no idea, like this is really cool for me to see for you to do this, just because I never thought it would happen on my own end, and I'm sure he felt that way. It would have never happened again. But here we are 11 years later, and the phenomenal one AJ Styles coming back in, and God, that dream match is possibly there for me. So hopefully, one day down the road, that would be something that could happen, especially being the TNA International Champion.
Yeah, I feel like there's certain names that are being thrown out there that people would love to see AJ get in the ring with. Obviously Leon Slater's one of them with the X
Oh,
Division title, but I
yeah.
think your name is right up there with him. Is that something that's on your radar? It's something you'd like to manifest into the world right now?
I would love to manifest that into the world. Yeah, bulletproof Steve Maclin versus the phenomenal one AJ Styles. To me, that's a main event style caliber match. I would love to have that match. But to go back to Leon, you brought him up. I'm so proud of Leon. What a story for that guy, or well, that kid, I should say, the youngest in history. He's not even a kid. He carries himself for as young as he is. He carries himself as a grown man, and I'm beyond proud of him and so happy for him to have that moment and to get his flowers that night because he's just above and beyond his years of where he's at in his career, and just him being the youngest X Division champion in history. I'm very excited to see what he's about to do with this title run.
Absolutely. And there was all kinds of crazy moments at Slammiversary, one of them being AJ Francis falling off the ladder, through all the ladders. What a crazy moment that was as well.
Yeah, he's lucky he's walking around this day. I'm glad he's not physically hurt. I'm glad everybody in that match. Obviously, it's a ladder match with the Hardys, so you know things are going to kind of go a little crazy. And then you also have the Rascals and the Nemeths in there. So you just a lot of odd heads and odd minds in there that are going to just go above and beyond for those tag titles. And that was cool to watch. I got to watch that live from out side ramp from the crowd. So it was fun to just sit there and kind of see the crowd react to everything. And then even Bubba Ray Dudley coming out at the end to give us that build up now to BFG of that open challenge for that one more match of seeing who's the greatest tag team of all time.
Yeah, that's the one thing I love about you, Steve. You're very open about your fandom. You've always talked about being a big Bret Hart fan in the past. So for you to see the Hardys and Team 3D in the ring again there, or Bubba representing Team 3D, was that a cool moment for you as a wrestling fan just to see all those legends one more time in there?
Yeah, just because you just kind of think of like the movie genres now, like of how they're making movies these days, and they're having those good callbacks, like even in Top Gun with Maverick, and you had the callback with Iceman and Maverick, and they're sitting there, and you have that like heartfelt moment, and you have so much emotion into it, invested into it, if you are a fan of that movie, or even like the Ghostbusters movie that they did, and they got to bring back just having all those nostalgic moments, and to me, it's like one of those nostalgic moments where you have these four guys that can still go and they're two of the tag teams that have stood out, even with Edge and Christian. Like those are the three teams that, for me as a kid, that growing up, like that was my tag team era. And the New Age Outlaws were another one of those where it's just like you have that connection and that feel. So here you have this moment being built in BFG and Bully Ray coming out with the Hardys being there. And there's going to be this big moment in Lowell, Massachusetts on October 12th for BFG now, where it's just a lot of eyes are going to be on that match, not because it's just the two greatest tag teams of all time. It's just a very emotional moment, invested moment that a lot of fans, especially myself, growing up as a fan, get to see that.
Absolutely. Now, we just mentioned a lot of the highlights from Slammiversary, but for the TNA locker room, possibly a little bit of downside as well. We see that NXT star Trick Williams has left as the heavyweight champion, and now we've seen JC Jane has left as the knockouts champion. You being the international champion, does that put more pressure on yourself to represent TNA as a TNA rostered member that's holding that title now? It kind of puts you into that top title position, right?
Yeah, it does. And then you could also say with Leon as well being the X Division champion, and then also the Hardys being tag team champions. We're carrying the workload, and to me, it does put a little bit extra chip on my shoulder, a little bit more weight, but I'm fine with carrying that because I know what I'm willing to do and what hill I'm willing to die on for the company that I work for. And I know a lot of people like to say ex-WWE people coming into TNA make the best of it. Is like I don't see myself as an ex-WWE person. I find myself as a homegrown TNA talent and Bulletproof Steve Macklin. I think the fan base feels that way too. To me, this is my home. It's the place that I love. It's what I carry with me everywhere, and I try to represent the best that I can. So if I'm going to die on that hill for this title, I'm going to do that.
Absolutely. And you've carried that title so proudly as well. You have this very unique position. You're the inaugural champion. So you kind of get to set the pace for what this title is going to be. Do you have a certain vision of where you want to get this title and how fans will look at this title going forward in the future?
I want to be able to defend this title internationally. I've been saying it to the management. I was like, when are you going to get me to Japan? When are you going to get me to Mexico? Where are you going to get me over to the UK? Over, just get me out of the States. Let me defend this international title internationally. Get me to Puerto Rico. Like, just there's so many different opportunities elsewhere to do this, but also to be able to represent TNA, plant that flag everywhere I go of TNA wrestling, no matter where I go, and also let the world know what TNA wrestling is all about. And I think I'm a pretty good example for this company to put out there.
Absolutely, you are. Now, there's one thing that I think that you've really taken to another level lately, and that's your promo work. You've cut some really incredible promos, especially this year specifically. Can you kind of take me through the process of what goes into your promos and the mind frame that you get yourself in when you're cutting these promos?
Nowadays, it's just relaxing more and just kind of I finally came into my own groove and coming into my own of it just took a process of I had my promo skills that I built up and learned from my time in WWE and NXT, and then I brought that to TNA, and then I've started to get my little bit of run in TNA, and then I was like, okay, cool. I just every time I go out there I take it as an opportunity to build on, to build on, to build on and perfect. And to bring up Bully again, Bully Ray, he was one of the first people that came to me that's backstage. That's one of the people that I would trust no matter what, with his just honesty on towards things. He goes, relax, just speak from your heart. And that's kind of where I go now, is just I try to speak from my heart and take what I'm given, and just try to make the most of my voice to come out in that and just be as clear as possible.
I think a great example of that is when you were cutting your promo in Full Sail after the TNA tapings were done there. Can you kind of take me back to that night and just all the emotions that you were feeling standing back in that ring where you have so much history in that building?
Yeah, the Full Sail was fun, and it was because I even asked. I was Tommy Dreamer. I asked, I was like, "Hey, is there any way I can get talk to the fans?" Like, I was like, "This means a lot for me, and I think this is a good full circle moment to come back in this building, and for the history I had in NXT there, but now representing TNA wrestling and being a part of TNA." And he said, "Go right ahead," and we got that down. They had the faith in me to go out there and talk, and I got to explain my history of having Tom Hannifin and Matt Raywalt, with who I have so much history from my time in NXT with, and Ray or Hannifin calling my first ever match in NXT when I was live on television against Juice Robinson at the time. And it's just fast forward to all these years later. It's crazy to me that I got to have that moment, and the moments with Wesley Blake as my tag partner, meeting my wife in NXT, and just yeah, there's so many good memories, so many bad memories, but so many lessons as well that I learned in that building, just by keeping my mouth shut, my ears and my eyes open, and watching how television works and how it's produced, and listening to the right people and listening to the wrong people, and taking that advice as well.
Absolutely. I know we're coming to the end of our time here, but I'd love to talk to you about a really special moment from the past in your career. That was right
Mhm.
here in my hometown of Toronto, Rebellion 2023. The night ended with both you and your incredible wife, TNA legend Deonna Purrazzo, in the ring, celebrating together, holding all the gold. Can you kind of just try to put into words what that night meant for you?
Oh, it meant a lot, just because it was a build that I thought it was going to be me and Josh Alexander. And it was like, obviously that's a letdown, but then like wrestling, the card's subject to change at all times. So you go with it. And then I had an even greater dance partner as well, and Kushida. And to go out there and to both challenge for the TNA world title and to come out victorious in that, on a night that was very special to me, that I put a lot of heart and faith into myself and letting the world know of who Bulletproof Steve Maclin is. And I got to show everybody. And I think that's where people's eyes opened really to me, of like, okay, God, this guy can actually carry something. He can do something here. And then it's a test to fans having faith in me, but also me having the faith in myself. And then being able to come through the curtain, and my wife is standing there getting ready to go out there, and she's trying not to be emotional to me because she knows how happy I am. But we're just waiting for her to now come back from her match with Jordan, and to just share that night and have a moment together. And it was finally like we're in one of the hallways when we got done and we're getting ready to leave. It was nice and quiet. We both kind of had like a moment of just letting a breath out, both looking at each other without saying anything. We're just yeah. It was a great night, an awesome moment.
Perfect. Oh, I love that. That's such a great night. One of my favorite moments to witness as well, especially being in my hometown. We mentioned Bound for Glory a couple of times, and we've also
Mhm.
talked about your wrestling fandom. One of my favorite moments of the week of Bound for Glory, it's the TNA Hall of Fame ceremony. Now, if Steve Maclin had his choice, who would you like to see go into the Hall of Fame this year at Bound for Glory?
Oof. Out of TNA, there's so many. Yeah. Jerry Lynn. I think Jerry Lynn was the focal point when the X division started. And granted, you have your AJ Styles, and the AJ even brought it up the other night in his promo, and I was just like, Jerry Lynn had such a impact on impact at the time, the Impact Zone with TNA wrestling, and the X division was just built around him, and with Frankie Kazarian, AJ, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, Amazing Red, the list goes on and on and on. It's just, I think Jerry Lynn deserves that moment, and for the work that he put into TNA wrestling back in the day, and even now, I still go back and watch a lot of his stuff just because he's one of the best of all time, and I don't think he's been given the credit for that, for how good he was and how innovative he was for his time. And so that's something I'd like to see in the future.
Absolutely, and just for me to throw a name out there too, a gentleman who actually announced his retirement on our very show was Homicide. I think Homicide would be
Yeah,
another great one this year to go into the TNA Hall of Fame. Him and Jerry Lynn sounds like a pretty good class to me.
yeah.
Well, the
That's
last
it's yeah. Sorry, it's just
no,
TNA. There's so many names in TNA history that haven't been talked about or given their rightful flowers, and everybody knows all they're one of the OG originals. But it's just you get. There's going to come a time where people are going to realize, oh, how good we had it at a certain time and didn't know it.
absolutely. And the last question I'd like to ask you then, because you've been so great with your time here, when you take a look back at your career so far, all of your accomplishments, everything that you've done to get to this moment, do you have any personal moments that you can look back on and they just make you smile to think about?
Um, More personal moments, not even in wrestling ring. I would say just as a human being for where I've gone in life. I posted about my dad's 60th birthday, and we took him, my wife and I took him and my mom to dinner at Krishner's in Orlando. Cheap plug there for Krishner's, one of the best steakhouses in Orlando. And it's a meal to me that you're spending a lot of money on a good meal. And if I ever had a dying meal and I was to ask what would you want, I would be like, I'm going to Krishner's for my final meal, and that'd be perfect for me. But it was just enjoyment of seeing my dad eat that, and like I wasn't able to have that kind of growing up. Like my parents busted their butt to allow me to get to where I want to live in my life and live my dream and do what I want to do. So to be able to pay that back just for what I do as a career as a professional wrestler, I think is one of the coolest things in the world. So I would say, like, for me lately, that's been one of my personal favorites.
Awesome. Well, Steve, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. You can catch Steve and the entire TNA roster July 24th, 25th at the Ryan Center, the University of Rhode Island. Congratulations on a successful weekend, and we look forward to seeing what the future holds for you and TNA Wrestling.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. And if you don't follow me at Steve Macklin on X, on Instagram, TNA shop merch as well for all bulletproof Steve Macklin merchandise.
Perfect. Absolutely. And on that note, you guys have been counted out.